Good evening, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman Television. Here we bring to you 7 o'clock news bulletin. First, the headlines. His Majesty's foreign policy is uploaded in social media through the Arabic hashtag Qaboos, the scale of politics. The United Nations envoy for Yemen invites the warring parties to talks in September to end the three-year conflict. And the U.S. Secretary of State and Turkish Foreign Minister agree to resolve disputes after relations between the NATO allies nosedive. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. An Arabic hashtag Qaboos, the scale of politics in Twitter, witnessed a lot of interactions and was one of the most trending hashtag in Oman in response to His Majesty's balanced and non-biased foreign policy approach. The hashtag coincided with Oman's recent visits to the United States and the United Kingdom with respect to current regional and international crises. The posts uploaded Oman's responsible and positive attitude to de-escalate a troubled relationship, urging conflict parties to resort and maintain peaceful dialogue with each other. One of the posts described Oman as the compass for solving complicated regional problems. Another post indicated that Oman is the voice of consciousness and the oasis of peace. The United Nations envoy for Yemen invited the warring parties to talks in September aimed at ending the three-year conflict, saying the pace of fighting has increased and the Red Sea is now a theater of war. Martin Griffiths told the Security Council that military experts say the rebel-held Red Sea port of Hodeidah has become the center of gravity of the war, and avoiding a battle for the port and the city has a better chance of being resolved within a comprehensive political settlement. He said the time is long past to resume the political process, and after consulting the internationally recognized government and Houthi rebels, he plans to invite them for consultations in Geneva on September 6, including discuss a framework for peace negotiations. Southeast Asia and Europe stress the importance of pushing back against protectionism and the theater of global trade wars today, as the ministers work towards the eventual goal of a region-to-region free trade pact. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong has said he hopes to complete by the end of the year a massive China-backed regional trade pact that has taken center stage as U.S. President Donald Trump embarks on a unilateral protectionist agenda. The U.S. is embroiled in trade spats with China and close allies, including the European Union, imposing tit-for-tat tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods and heightening fears of economic pain that could spread worldwide. Washington escalated the trade row this week by saying it was considering more than doubling the threatened tariffs on a range of Chinese imports worth $200 billion. ASEAN, a 10-national region of 650 million people with some of the world's fastest-growing emerging economies, has been keenly forging free trade pacts among its members and regional trading partners. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu agreed today to try to resolve a series of disputes after relations between the NATO allies sank to their lowest point in decades. Their meeting in Singapore followed Washington's impositions on Wednesday of sanctions on two Turkish ministers over the case of Andrew Brunson, a U.S. pastor on trial in Turkey for backing terrorism. Cavusoglu said he had repeated Turkey's message that the threatening language and sanctions does not achieve anything, but added that he and Pompeo would take steps to resolve their differences when they returned home. Washington imposed sanctions on Justice Minister Abdul Hamid Gul and Interior Minister Suleiman Soylu, accusing them of playing leading role in organizations responsible for the arrest and detentions of Brunson, an evangelical Christian who has lived in Turkey for more than 2 decades. The move sent to the Turkish lira to a record low. Less than 2 months after a landmark U.S.-North Korean summit in Singapore, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo flew back to the city-state today and suggested that continued work on weapons programs by North Korea was inconsistent with its leader's commitment to denuclearize. Pompeo was asked en route to Singapore about his statements in the U.S. Senate last month that North Korea was continuing to make bomb fuel and reports that North Korea, led by Kim Jong-un, was building new missiles. Pompeo thanked ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, at a meeting in Singapore for their efforts in enforcing sanctions on North Korea. North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho is also in Singapore and will attend the same regional meeting as Pompeo, but the State Department has not said whether the two will meet. The White House said Trump has received a letter from Kim and had responded with a note that should be delivered shortly, but it said no second meeting was currently planned. President Emerson Mnangagwa called for Zimbabwe to unite behind him after he was declared winner of national elections. But the opposition leader questions the outcome and demanded proper and verified results be released. The elections, the first since the army removed 94-year-old Robert Mugabe from office in November, passed off relatively smoothly on the day, raising hopes of a break from a history of disputed and violent polls. But an army crackdown on opposition supporters in which 6 people were killed, and opposition claims that the vote was rigged, revealed the deep rifts in Zimbabwean society that developed during Mugabe's 4 decades in power, when the security forces became a byword for heavy-handedness. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission announced the 75-year-old Mnangagwa polled 2.46 million votes against 2.15 million for 40-year-old opposition leader Nelson Chamisa. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and still to come in our news bulletin. The Golden Bridge in Vietnam's Ba Na Hills attracts scores of tourists eager to see the novel piece of architecture famed for its unusual design.
عبق فاح بين جنباتها، فنفثت سلاما برائحة لبانها. حلقت عاليا نحو السماء، فنقشت بأبجدياتها تاريخا جميلا، وبكرمها أمست مضربا للأمثال. مهرجان صلالة السياحي 2018 من 10 من يوليو إلى 25 من أغسطس.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Royal Oman Police ROP is exerting a great efforts to organize traffic movement during the Kharif season in the Governorate of the Far. It prepared its patrol and ambulance along the roads leading to the Far with concentrated efforts to receive tourists from inside and outside the Sultanate in order to assure their safety through activating a security plan. The Royal Oman Police Commands around also put up some points on the main highway tasks to provide security and for safety for motorists and passengers, as well as to intervene if it is needed, such as in case of accidents. The Special Police Task Force unit in the Governorate of the Far also distributed its patrol in various touristic sites to provide aid if needed and ensure the safety of the visitors. The Royal Oman Police during the Kharif season each year provides a mobile station in 18 plain as it supervises on traffic movement in area, as well as keep an eye on the traffic congestion. Sultan's Armed Forces Museum participated within exhibitions as part of Salalah Tourism Festival program for this year. The exhibitions contains a collection of traditional weapons, books and a cornel of moral guidance in the Sultan's Armed Forces. SAF Museum aims at introducing to visitors of Salalah Oman's military heritage and history and the recent development witnessed by the Sultanate's armed forces over the past years. The Association for Welfare of Children with Disabilities organized the third Solidarity Fair with the participation of more than 50 female entrepreneurs from the small and medium enterprises sector. Each participant brought their best merchandise in the fair, which included huge collections of stylish women garments, clothes, accessories and perfumes. The fair aimed at aiding the association to support activities and care program for children with disabilities. A Rayan mosque in Rwanda is constructed by the late Omani scholar Sheikh Khalfan Al-Isri. I was there at the opening ceremony and I have this report. In this beautiful East African country that has historical friendly bond with the Sultanate of Oman, a ceremony organized by Al-Istiqama Association took place to open a newly built mosque funded by Sheikh Khalfan bin Muhammad Al-Isri, the late Islamic scholar and motivational speaker, a ceremony of which was held in the presence of His Eminence, Assistant Mufti of the Sultanate, Sheikh Dr. Kahlan bin Nabhan Al-Kharusi, as well as the Rwandan head of the religious affairs and His Eminence Sheikh Salim Hatimana, Grand Mufti of the Rwanda, along with other officials from the Rwandan government and a large number of Rwandan people, together with their fellow Omanis who live in Rwanda. A number of speeches were presented on this occasion, which stressed on the cooperation and historical relationship between the people of the two countries. Prior to that, the present gathering at the time performed the Friday prayer led by His Eminence, the Assistant Mufti of the Sultanate. The mosque, situated in the suburban of the capital Kigali, has the capacity of accommodating up to 1,500 worshippers that include women's prayer hall as well as administrative and general service offices and a library with a large area planned for other facilities, plus a secular school scheduled to commence in the near future.
فأود في هذه السانحة المباركة أن أؤكد رابطة تاريخية عريقة وتعاون مثمر وملموس بين الشعب العماني والشعب الرواندي قديما وحديثا.
In this special occasion, I would like to stress on the historical bond between the people of Oman and Rwanda in the past and presently. As you know that Islam did spread from the coastal countries like Kenya, Tanzania up to Rwanda through Arab traders who were traveling to African nations for business. In this aspect, the Rwandans took opportunity to gain from Omanis who came here earlier, through whom many Rwandans embraced Islam in line with the good conduct exercised by Omanis towards their fellow Rwandan hosts, which has allowed many Rwandans to become Muslims. And this is what makes us as Rwandans Rwandan people to remain grateful to Omanis throughout our lives for great role that Omanis played in spreading Islam.
نعتبر أنفسنا مدينين بالفضل للشعب العماني طوال حياتنا، ذلك لأن لعبوا دورا محوريا وطلعوا بدور ريادي في سبيل نشر دين الإسلام في هذه الدولة.
It is indeed a very special day that we inaugurated this mosque, which I consider as a continuity of what the early Omanis, our forefathers, have participated and built in this country. And it is going to be a gate of more of harmonious relationship with the local people here. Omanis are welcome, as we have seen here in this country, and they do have a legacy which they can invest on, and they can build their new relationship upon this legacy. There are many opportunities here, but what comes first is the cultural and religious relationship, because once we have a mutual understanding and a strong relationship when it comes to the challenges that Muslims are facing nowadays and the modernity that we all are looking for in order to understand our religion better, in order to be able also to invest on our values and principles, then I think Omanis have a golden opportunity in this part of the world.
The religious marhum Sheikh Khalfan al-Isri decided to erect this mosque Jama al-Rayyan at his place of birth and early upbringing in Rwanda through the will entrusted to his younger brother and Al-Istiqama Association to be the mosque's blessed venue. Sheikh Khalfan al-Isri, may Allah have mercy on his soul, died on May 12, 2015 after a life full of active work. He was born in Rwanda in 1962. He lived there and learned the Quran and basic education, after which he returned to Oman in 1973, where he attended the secular schools and then moved to complete petroleum engineering studies in Glasgow, UK. He as well studied psychology and cultural institution studies. He worked in the field of oil for about 20 years as petroleum engineer. In addition, he held a number of senior responsible positions in both public and private sector, including honorable membership at the State Council. From Rwanda, the land of thousands hills, I'm Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television. In the mountains of central Vietnam, a colossal pair of hands lifts a golden thread of walkway high above the cliff tops, as if the mountains itself has sprouted limbs. Khao Vang, or the Golden Bridge in Vietnam's Ba Na Hills, has attracted scores of tourists since it's opened in June, eager to see a novel piece of architecture famed for its unusual design. The pedestrian walkway, designed by the Thai landscape architecture in Ho Chi Minh City, sits at over 1,000 meters above the sea level and extends over the tree tops from the edge of a leafy cliff face, offering tourists uninterrupted views of the majestic landscape beneath. The Ba Na Hills received over 2.7 million visitors last year, according to the Vietnam National Administration for Tourism. However, the Golden Bridge and it supports two huge stone-colored human hands tiled in such a way that it looks as if the jungle is struggling to reclaim them, which have garnered the most attention from visitors. And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of the Far and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear, dusty skies with chances of cloud accumulation and thunder showers over the Hajar Mountains. Low clouds and fog late at night and early morning are expected over the coast of the Arabian Sea and Sea of Oman. Winds will be south to southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. More details on your screen. watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty's foreign policy is applauded in social media through the Arabic hashtag Qaboos, the scale of politics. United Nations envoy for Yemen invites the warring parties to talks in September and to end the 3-year conflict. The U.S. Secretary of State and Turkish Foreign Minister agreed to resolve disputes after relations between the NATO allies nosedive. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Thank you for joining us and good night.